Excellent. Hi. Welcome to a new video of Big Bar 161. And what you just saw is a mine exploding, being activated by a intruder. As you may imagine, building a mine isn't that hard. You just need a trigger mechanism, some TNT down below, and done. Maybe the easiest way we all thought is placing a TNT down below and a pressure plate. You need to step here, and the TNT blows up. The first problem is that this plate is too easy to see. If you're going through a field or a forest, you can easily spot this out. Another thing is that when you activate this pressure plate, you will listen to the TNT going off, and you still have 4 seconds to go away. So to solve this problem, you can do the following. We are going to use one of the properties of minecarts. If we place a minecart over a power rail, and the power rail is powered, the minecart will move. But since we are able to stack minecarts, we're going to place 3 of them here. And when activated, they will go off and won't stop. Until they find a barrier. So underground we can place a power rail. Remember, we need a solid block on one of the sides. And an air block on the other side. So when the power rail is powered, the minecarts will go out and impact the wall. So in this case they just have to move a small distance and the mine will go off. Cover this off. Go survival mode, and done, we're dead. As you see, TNT isn't useful, but TNT minecarts are quite effective, just costing some additional iron. Getting back to the first problem is that pressure plates are too easy to see. Hardly anyone is going to step on one of these. So one of the solutions is using a tripwire hook, like this one over here. You just need to hide these hooks, maybe with some vegetation, and a hole over there. And anyone walking over this forest will probably not see this wire over here. So we just need to load up the mine first. On the surface, the mine looks like this. Just need to place a hook on the other side. And the wire going all over this. And on this side, you're going to place a redstone dust under this block. And from this block under the redstone you're going to place a repeater. And this is going to power the power rail. Over which we're going to place the minecarts. So anything that passes over this wire is going to activate it. We stack up a few minecarts. Remember, the more minecarts, the more powerful the mine is. And at the end, remember to cover this hole up. So let's go to survival mode first. And the mine activates. You'll see the explosion is quite considerable. Hardly anyone is going to survive this. Just remember this figure. I'm not going to do a tutorial because this is an extremely easy to build contraption. Right now I'm not wearing any armor. What I really want to see is the effectiveness of blast protection. So let's go into it. For example, let's build a 3 TNT mine. Which is not a lot, quite a minimal. So let's try it out, blast protection 1, as you can see here. So let's try out the mine. There, we survived quite easily. So next, let's try to do the same thing with 5 TNT. Well, in this case we didn't. And that way going on, the more powerful you want your mine to be, the more minecarts you will need. And that way I did some experiments. For example, with no armor, 90% of the time with 4 TNT it's enough to kill a player. For blast protection 1, 90% of the time you die with 5 TNT. For blast protection 2, you will need 8 TNT. With protection 3 full armor, you will need 11 TNT and 13 TNT for blast protection 4. And that way, adding more TNT you will add up for the power of the mine. And as you imagine, from this point on, no blast protection available in the game is going to protect you from dying on this mine. But the more TNT, the bigger the radius of the explosion. So in this case, let's do a final experiment. We clean up, and let's go for blast protection 4. And let's try to see an explosion of 17 TNT mine. Yep, no chance. And the size of the explosion is this. Probably this is overdoing it, and maybe not necessary. But for example, imagine a small squad of enemies trying to pass through this place. Well, no more enemies. For a long time, mines have been designed with this trick, with a tripwire hook. But let's try a new concept, using a skulk sensor. So this is another way to activate an explosive charge, and this provides a different advantage. Depending on the depth where we place the skulk sensor, we can determine the area of effect. So let's imagine we place the skulk 1 block underground. As you see here, under this glass platform, so we can walk here. And if we make a step on this blue area over here, the sensor picks up the signal. The problem with this depth is that this area of effect is too big, and you will need a very large TNT charge to kill a player from this distance. But if we place the sensor deep underground, the area of effect is going to be smaller. In this case, 3 blocks deeper, you are going to see that the area of effect is just 1 block smaller. So let's try another 3 blocks deeper. In this case, the block is now 7 blocks underground, and the area of effect will look like this. An area of effect of only this size. But in this case, even the skulk sensor is deep underground. We can place the explosive charge just under here. Since this area is smaller, the probabilities that someone is going to activate this mine are smaller. So for example, we can walk over this space over here, and the mine will not go off. Maybe with a depth of 6 blocks, like you see over here, is probably close to optimal. You will see that this area, about 9 by 9 blocks, and the TNT charge of about 15 minecarts, which is quite powerful. This will be enough for nobody to survive it. Let's try to make a mine with this concept. So a way to do it is choose a location, and this block, for example, dig out a 7 block deep hole, and there place a skulk sensor, then a repeater, these 4 redstone pieces going up, feeding a power rail. Just don't forget to place these 2 pieces of wall, so that when you place the TNT minecarts, they do not activate the sensor. So now let's cover up this hole. And maybe let's try to dig this axis further away. Because when the mine is assembled, we must go away. So when we go near, we do it pressing shift. And now we start placing our TNT minecarts, like this. And now let's go away, slowly. And at this distance we can now close off the hole. And that way our mine is assembled. Again, let's pass to survival mode. And the skulk sensor will detect us. And like that you can choose either of the 2 trigger systems. If you prefer with a tripwire hook, or the skulk sensor based trigger. Both of them have pros and cons. The problem with this trigger is that anything you do, any mob will be able to activate them. So of course, that may be a problem. But something really funny we can do with the skulk is that we can get near walking as quiet as possible, and then do something ridiculous like eating a bread or something like that. And we're done. But what about these guys? We now have them, let's use them. 1.20 brought these, and now we can do circuits that are triggered with very specific actions. But first I present you with a book that maybe a lot of us are going to use to calibrate the sensors. This book has 15 pages, and depending on what page we flip over, placing the book in a lectern, the power of the comparator is going to reflect on what page we place the book. For example, here 11. Now let's go to 15. That is the maximum power. So we just have to input the signal on this magenta color vein of the sensor. and that way we can calibrate it to detect certain frequencies. For example, here we have action 5, or power 5, dismounting a mob or equipping gear. So for example, let's get in this boat. When we get off, the circuit detects the signal, displacing on 12, breaking a block. And another change is that the sensor doesn't detect signals only at 8 blocks of distance. Now it is 16. And yeah, now we can build mines that explode with very specific actions. Some of these actions can be actually very funny. For example, we have this on page 5, dismounting a mob or equipping gear. So maybe we can place a sign in this area where it is prohibited to get off a mob, like in the case of that one, mounting a mob. But here if we dismount from one, you die. If you consume, eat or drink something, you're dead. If you change the content of a block, for example placing a fish on this campfire, you die. If a mob or a player teleports, you die. And 15 out of 15, if you die, you die.